We got a monster giveaway at the very end of this video. Literally. Monsters, Mark Spears, Nightmare on Elm Street, signed. Stay tuned. I think this book is probably in $5 bins that you can get graded, and you're probably gonna have a $200 to $300 book on your hands.
This was a major spoiler, and if it actually happens, this could blow up a ton of books that people need to be speccing on.
The most trending comic books in the world. Number 10 on the list is Green Lantern 21. Just came out. The Mark Spears 1 in 25 variant. This superb cover is hitting $40 high average sales. No surprise. I think it's the colors that's actually what's driving the prices of these Mark Spears variants, because seldomly are we talking about a Green Lantern incentive. And if this price is a little aggressive for you, you got to take a look at the Lucio Perillo cover, which was a cover B open to order. Absolutely superb. Now, don't sleep on Mark Spears, because issue 22 also has a 1 in 25 variant, and issue 23 has an open to order Mark Spears cover, which I think is going to pop regardless of it not being an incentive, because it's just a classic portrait shot. Big shout out to Lee Stimson Jr. and Collector's Den for being the first to comment on our video last week. Thanks for having that notification on. And Russ, hit him with number 9.
Another 1 in 25 variant, and it's a repeat offender. Number 9 on the list, The Last Boy number 1, the Adam Hughes 1 in 25 variant. We see Tinkerbell whispering into this ear, "You need to buy this variant." $85 average sales and $175 for a high raw sale. Multiple $150 listings on eBay, and a ton of people are still buying this book. We are reporting a 260% increase in copies sold. This is a popular book, and a lot of people are going to be buying them. I think long term, we're probably going to see a little bit of a dip in price as demand goes down, but it is still beautiful and a great example of how amazing Adam Hughes is.
What do you think? We told them last week that we think you should hold off, and clearly they didn't listen to us.
These 1 in 25s are always hard to tell, because a lot of times they'll come out low and then go high. This one came out the gate blazing hot, and I think there's time for this to cool off. What do you guys think?
Holy hell, were the Marvel announcements crazy this week. Number 8 on the list from 2016, Infamous Iron Man issue number 1. The time that Victor Von Doom goes full Iron Man. And this was like the major spec play back last year when Robert Downey Jr. was announced to be not coming back as Tony Stark, but as a multiversal character, Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, who may be the next Thanos in the MCU.
The last time we talked about this book was 7 months ago, and just to give you an idea of how many people have been thinking about this book, we have seen an increase in copies at a 9.8 of 236 books in 7 months. There's now 794 copies, and I'm doing this a little backwards for a reason. We are reporting $50 average sales, and there was a recent auction high for $84 for CGC 9.8, and 2 buy it nows that happened on the 27th, right after this announcement, for $100 and $120. We have to keep in mind that since so many books are on the census that just got graded a 9.8, some people have definitely been sitting on them, and this is indicated by the fact that one seller on eBay has sold 15 copies of a 9.8 since November 28th of last year, and those have ranged between $52 on auction and $300 at a buy it now. So if you are patient and you watch, that's why this book is going for so much less right now.
An increase of copies sold of 227%. Let's hit him with the 27 actors slated for Avengers Doomsday. Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon, joined by Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Louis Pullman as Bob the Sentry, and Winston Duke as M'Baku. Some of those names are from the Thunderbolts. This is like light spoilers happening coming out from Marvel. Tanouk Huerta, Namor, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Channing Tatum Gambit, oh, get your 266s ready, and James Marsden as Cyclops out of nowhere from the Fox X-Men days.
We are also seeing Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Kelsey Grammer as Beast, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, Eben Moss-Bachrach as The Thing, Vanessa Kirby as Invisible Woman, and Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic.
And the list goes on. Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, David Arbor as Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent. This just became a list of who's going to survive the Thunderbolts. Florence Pugh as Black Widow's sister, Yelena Belova. Tom Hiddleston, Loki's coming back. Letitia Wright, it says here on a couple of these articles, as Black Panther, but there's no way we can know that. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and then led by none other than, of course, Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom.
This is going to spike a substantial number of books. How many are going to make the list next week? What are your guesses?
Which brings us to number 7 on the list with Captain Canuck, the first Canadian superhero to be distributed in the U.S. market. We have $35 average sales, $200 for his CGC 9.8, and a clear interest after that Fan Expo exclusive.
We're seeing a 127% increase in copies sold this week. And before we get into any of the news about it, I really do want to shout out Richard Cumley, the guy who wrote and produced this book. He should be spoken of like Dave Sim as far as being one of the innovators and people who started doing independent comics and moving them forward. We would not have had Eastman and Laird and Mirage without people like Dave Sim with Cerebus the Aardvark and Richard Cumley with Captain Canuck.
Seeing this as a repeat offender this week, I can't help but notice that what has happened in comic history is happening again. When things in the real world start to be a talking point, comics start to like lay that history out in their own way through the funny books. And this right here is absolutely what's happening with tariffs and conversations about Canada. I mean, take a look at this. We have White House Robot Romance by Chip Zdarsky coming out, and listen to this synopsis. White House Robot Romance is a captivating science fiction romance that tells the story of two kitchen-bound robots who, breaking free from their programming, find themselves in the middle of a political upheaval that could lead to the war between America and Canada.
And before anyone gets a little bit too crazy about this has historically been something that has happened forever. Captain America punching Hitler in the face, and even Stan Lee's drug stories and Neil Adam and Denny O'Neill's Green Lantern Speedy as a junkie story. Like, these things have happened in comic books, and they're echoing real life because this is what people care about.
We Stand on Guard. This was a book that came out in 2015 by Brian K. Vaughan. Image reported that there were more sales in February for this graphic novel than all of 2024, which tells the story of a war between Canada and the United States of America. C2E2 is a couple weeks away, and over on Whatnot, I'm going to be doing some crazy giveaways all weekend long. I want to test you, Russ. These are the keys that I'm giving away. Do you know the key significance?
First, Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man, and I think the first book I ever bought from you?
ASM 298. What about this one?
ASM 299. Definitely another book that you and I have sold back and forth before, Black Suit Spidey McFarlane.
That's right. We also have this one.
Oh, that Batman 423 is probably one of my favorite covers, and I absolutely believe it was the inspiration for Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
All right, then we also have this one.
Ooh, ASM 361, First Full Carnage.
And then last but not least,
okay, Spider-Man Team Up 141, Black Suit Spidey first appearance, a little bit controversial there, and it's a Mike Mignola cover.
And since it was a little controversial, I felt like we should do this one too.
Absolutely, ASM 252, which is also an Amazing Fantasy 15 homage.
All right, join me over on Whatnot, link in the description. Enjoy a $15 credit you can use on your first purchase. I also have an announcement next week. For those who are using their first time purchase with me, I'm going to be adding something in your box. TBD, but join me over on Whatnot, link in the description, and support the show. Moving on to number 6 on the list, Friday the 13th, Pamela's Tale #1. I think this book is probably in $5 bins that you can get graded, and you're probably going to have a $200 to $300 book on your hands.
$25 average sales, and the last CGC 9.8 sale was $305, and that was back in September of 2024. I honestly believe that these Wildstorm Friday the 13th books are criminally undervalued. The print run on issue #1, I checked this on Comicron, was 8,400 books, and #2 was only 7,900 books. There are less than 10,000 of these out there, and I think people just aren't aware of how low print and how high demand they should be, especially because this week we are seeing a 267% increase in copies sold because we now have a new movie that's going to be coming out exploring the origin of Jason Voorhees' mother.
We have a new movie coming to Peacock. I love seeing horror movies slated for streaming. I think it forces them to keep the budget down and to like really maximize it. And this is a origin issue of Jason Voorhees' mother, Pamela, and the birth of Jason in this comic book. There's only 15 slabs on the census. We haven't seen a book sell in a long time at a 9.8 because no one was speccing on this very low print book. I think if you find this in high grade and get it graded, You're gonna be very happy.
And I am so excited because they have announced that Linda Cardellini is supposed to be Jason Voorhees' mother. And for those of you that are old school like me, you remember her from Freaks and Geeks and playing Daphne in Scooby-Doo. And I almost forgot that she is Hawkeye's wife. She's already in the MCU, an amazing actress that you've totally seen multiple times before. And I think she's gonna kill it in this role.
Next on the list at number 5 is New Avengers 33 from 2015, seeing $15 average sales, $125 for a recent CGC 9.8 from November 2024. This right here is the very first time we saw an incursion happen when the multiverses collide, thousands of them, and get destroyed.
It's a 300% increase in copies sold this week because, well, we're going to explain a little bit more about the whole incursion thing in just a second, but personally, I would tread lightly on this because a lot of times when you have it's an event happening in the comic books, it's not necessarily the thing to spike on. It's not as cool as like the first appearance of a character.
We expect incursions to play a major role in the upcoming movies, specifically the Avengers movies, Avengers Doomsday. Over on Key Collector Comics, where we source these books from, by the way, utilize code TOM101, support the show, try out Key Collector. You get to unlock the full potential of the app, but the majority of the app is free and it's going to enhance your comic collecting. From time to time, Key Collector gets like insider leaks and sources that provide them with typically some of the best information that turns out to be true. Let's remind you that the app that actually provided the insight about Thunderbolts happening was Key Collector. It wasn't Variety. It wasn't Deadline. They were the ones to break the news, and they got insider sources totally laying out what to expect in the Avengers movie based off of all of these announcements that happened this last week. And we will not review it today, but it has to do with incursions. And if you want to see that information and possibly have something spoiled for you that is driving this book up in value, check out the app.
This was a major spoiler, and if it actually happens, this could blow up a ton of books that people need to be speccing on. Again, tread lightly. It is very, very early days.
Now at number 4, finally, Noble Causes Family Secrets, issue number 3, $35 average sales and a low $76 for a CGC 9.8. And that sale took place prior to our coverage on this book when we suggested that this was selling for too cheap. This right here is the first cameo appearance of Invincible in comic books, and I think people are catching on, but not fast enough.
We mentioned this book a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Tech Jacket number 1, and that was the first 5-page preview of the Invincible comic book. Well, this book is the first time we see Mark, who plays the superhero Invincible, in a cameo. It's a 320% increase in copies sold this week, so I think people are finally in on the secret. And if you guys want to go even deeper dive, there is a variant cover that's an homage to X-Men number 141.
This book hit heights of $350 back in 2023, and seeing how much Invincible 1 has taken off, we're talking comic boom numbers. These are clear purchases by people who are in the know, and if you can grab this for under $100 all day, every day, pick it up. I think this right here is the spec that has gone unnoticed for way too long.
There are so many repeat offenders. A full half of this list we have talked about in the last month.
That's right. You probably own a couple of these rapidly moving books. Number 3 on the list, Spectacular Spider-Man 15, first appearance of the second Spider Queen.
Adriana Soria was definitely not on my bingo card this year. So the fact that we're still reporting a $12 average sale, $40 high raw sale, because we haven't had enough time for people to get their CGC books back, but it's a 142% increase in copies sold because there's still speculation we're going to see a female bad guy in the upcoming Spider-Man 4 movie, and we have no confirmation on who it could be.
No confirmation on this character or even Black Cat. Well, I do like this spec. I think it could be a cool villain in Spider-Man 4, but proceed with caution right now because there's only 11 slabs on the census. Only 2 publicly recorded sales of this book have ever taken place in 9/8, and the last time it happened was 2006. People are paying a high amount for raw copies because there's not enough CGC offerings. The supply is not meeting the demand, which is driving the raw sale prices up. If I see a $40, $50 sale like we're starting to see on this book, I would expect 9/8 of this to hit what? $150, $200+.
This Spectacular Spider-Man run is not one that I care about and anyone has really cared about for a while. My example of this is I had a collection come in recently and I literally threw the whole thing into my 50-cent bin because there were no key piece to worry about. And I had a customer come back to me and say, hey, 2 through 8 are all signed. Did you mean to put these in the 50-cent bin?
If you want to pay $12 for a high-grade copy, sure. But I bet you can find it in dollar bins or 50-cent bins at Russ's shop,
Right.
apparently. Well, I think people should wait on spending this kind of money, like $40+, or when the 9/8 start to hit $200+, as it will likely be, until the overall flood of 9/8 hit the census. I mean, we were just talking about infamous Iron Man. Which do you think is actually a stronger spec play at this point? Way more people behind Robert Downey, Victor Von Doom as Iron Man than Spider-Queen right now, and that book plummeted because of the census count. I expect the same thing to happen here. There's gonna be some people getting burned along the way. I gotta give a big shout out to Omar Nagy. Apologize, but also let him know that he kind of ruined my day because he commented last week talking about how he himself sold on Heritage a ASM 194 First Black Cat, the Era Edition, white pager, and it went for $2,400, which is basically what a standard 9/8 non-Era goes for. Dude, where was I?
I have no idea. A lot of times these Heritage auctions just fly under the radar. And I think if not enough people are paying attention, you may get a really, really good deal. Or if too many people are paying attention, you may overpay.
All right, so this is an example of buyer's regret, but to a different level. Because when most people talk about buyer's regret, it's, oh, I wish I didn't buy this book at that time because maybe you overpaid. Now, this is a situation of buyer's regret. Where was I? Because I should have bought that book. I'm sorry, Omar.
The number of times I have had a one-of-one book that slipped through my hands because I just didn't pull the trigger, we could make a full video. But what about your stories? Tell us them down below. What book did you just barely miss out on?
Number 2 on the list. Dude, we got another repeat offender. Daredevil 58, first appearance of Angela Del Toro, who does get her time on the screen that I wasn't expecting. I thought maybe they were just going to leave us with her superb acting chops displayed in episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again, but the narrative continues and we get to see her spotlight in episode 6 this past week. No spoilers, but dude, Daredevil is easily one of my favorite superhero shows of all time. Episode 5 may be the best single episode of any superhero show in existence.
Tom, that is a really strong statement that I might have to agree with, and I think a lot of the comic fam agrees with us as well. There's a reason why we're seeing a 333% increase in copies sold of this book. It's a $15 average sale and $232 for CGC 9.8. People have been speccing on White Tiger for quite some time, and this is really, really strong for this book from an era that had a pretty good print run.
Now, with all that said, I am very optimistic on this character. And they could be the next White Tiger in the future, maybe even in this particular season of Daredevil. Who knows? She seems pretty young, so I imagine this will be a slow burn. But that 9/8 sale of $232 was back in November 2023. So very similar to some of the other numbers on this list. Wait for the flood of 9/8s before we can project what the actual true value is in high grade. I bet it's going to be under that last sale.
While I wouldn't expect a White Tiger show, even though we did get Echo's own show, I think her slotting into a team like Young Avengers would be perfect for this actress.
Hit the like, slap the subscribe. We make this video every single week for the comic book community. Go to comictom.com, join the mystery mail call. 1 per box in our mystery box is a guaranteed John Boy Myers Amazing Spider-Man #1, which is homaging Punisher's second full appearance in ASM 135. The #1 most trending book in the world is $5.
Everyone's been watching the Daredevil show. Everyone should be paying attention to these Daredevil comics. So the fact that we're talking about Daredevil #1 from 2019 at a $5 book should be no surprise to anyone.
9/8's hitting $56 because we see for the first time Detective Cole North. And clearly, this character isn't exactly like the comic books, but we're not going to get into spoilers for the most recent episode of Daredevil. We'll save this for next week. But we're seeing an increase of copies sold of 425%, partially because, dude, it's the same dude. They pulled the character from the damn comic. They look the same. It is perfect casting.
The casting is incredible, and storyline-wise, they may have changed up his character a little bit, but I think more shall be revealed, and that's why so many people need to be watching Daredevil if you are not. The character development is second to none, and I think the seeds that they're planting are really going to come to fruition soon.
This Chip Zdarsky run of Daredevil is one of the best Marvel runs of all time. You have to read it. You're going to really enjoy it. If you're watching Daredevil Born Again, scratch that Matt Murdock itch. That sounds really weird, but you're going to read it and go, no, I know what Tom was talking about. Read this comic. Pick up this key. Find it in dollar bins. You need to know a lot of these covers as the con season emerges, because I think people are going to get really lucky on the hunt. Tag us on Instagram if you find any of these. I want to give you some shout outs and repost you in my story. And of course, as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said. And that was our video. And we're at the very end. So let's give away some comic books. I have 2 copies of Silverhawks #1. One of them is a foil. Both of them are signed with a bat remark in the top right corner by cover artist Mark Spears.
Yep.
If your phone number ends in 0262, check your phone. If your name is Eric Hofstetter, check your phone. And I gotta say this because we are also available on Spotify and iTunes for our audio-only listeners. Join our SMS group, our text message group on comictom.com. That's where we source all of our giveaways from. If you enter your phone number in one time, you're in all of our giveaways we do, and we do them weekly henceforth. This week, I got a monster. Mark Spears Monsters, the Nightmare on Elm Street variant signed by Mark Spears. I want you to win this. comictom.com, join our group, and we'll see you next week.